Welcome back, everyone. This is Akanar here with more Talos Principle 2, where we are ready to head to the final big area of the island. We are ready to head west and check out the remaining 3 areas. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's jump right into it here and check out the Western Delta, a river valley gradually drowned by the encroaching sea. The brackish water, there's a word. What does that even mean? Brackish water is a unique ecosystem with many endemic species. Let's check it out. Let's get it going here right off the bat.
How's the system looking, Melville? Any obvious changes?
It's still a mess, but things are clearing up. I can access some of the subroutines that I was locked out of before. Nothing is obviously malfunctioning, I think.
Does it still accord special significance to 1K?
Yes, it recognizes 1K as a user. I'm just hacking things.
As I suspected, the founder sees you, 1K.
Oh, thanks for putting absolutely no pressure on me. We've got Herman hanging out with us now. That was the latest development in our expedition here. We have the there's nothing like, there's nothing like a politician hanging watching over your shoulder, judging your every move when you are out exploring a mysterious, all-powerful, all-seeing island. Okay, it looks like we've got some dialogue right off the bat here that we're going to be getting into. Let's go ahead. We've got Crier and we've got Rand. Oh, Rand is here. I did not realize that Rand was part of the expedition. I don't remember if Crier is someone we met before, but what do we have here? What is this? And it sounds like maybe we've even got some new music. So some stuff is happening here in the Western Delta. Why don't we start out by talking to Rand? Let's see what the latest is from
Number 1000.
our...
Greetings.
Oh, you called me number 1000. So robot Illuminati of you. We'll just start with the first question here. Do you think the goal is a myth? We have some more information about this now.
Into us. It may be a distraction from what really is.
Yeah, if you know what we know from last time, it's really kind of an arbitrary number. What's your vision of our future?
A place where conflict and suffering don't happen, because its people have worked out how to live harmoniously.
I like how your answers are very succinct. You know how to sum things up very quickly. This is good. We're off to a good start here. What are your thoughts on the theory of everything? This is the thing we learned last time, which basically sounds like Miranda discovered the ability to become God, which is really crazy and also kind of unbelievable. But what do you make of it all, Rand?
I'm more of a classicist than a physicist, but I doubt infinite power in the physical realm will solve our conflicts in the spiritual one.
As I said last time, the theory of everything is just such an overwhelming idea. I don't even still maybe know how to approach it, even after having a little bit of time to process. Like the ability to do literally anything. How do you even think coherently about that? What do you make of the island?
I cannot deny that it has a certain allure. Puzzles are part of our programming, and what Athena has created here speaks to that part of ourselves. After all, what am I doing if not trying to solve a puzzle? The puzzle of human morality.
A much more complicated and difficult to solve puzzle, but perhaps a puzzle nonetheless. What can you tell me about Cornelius?
Cornelius founded the Museum of the Simulation and greatly encouraged the work of the archive scholars. He and Eustathius are the bedrock of scholarship in New Jerusalem. His entanglement with all this seems absurd to me.
I like that Rand is not really all that overwhelmed or impressed by this theory of everything. Like he's kind of just like looking at it like, hey, it's not going to solve everything, and there's more to the story. So that's pretty cool. Rand still kind of has his own maybe a utopian way of looking at things. Lots of the characters in the game seem to have like, oh, this is how we'll make the world exactly the way it should be. And I don't know, sometimes it can feel a little off-putting just because I'm not naturally, those kinds of people are kind of, I don't know.
What can I do for you, 1K?
I'm a little hesitant about ideologues, and sometimes the people in this game come off that way. Okay, let's get your opinion on the goal. Do you think it's a myth?
As a journalist, I think
Oh,
the
this
line
is the
between
journalist
speculation
guy.
and disinformation is too thin for me to engage in guessing games.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a pretty pragmatic answer. Right, yeah. I think that's actually pretty close to what I would answer. What are your thoughts on the theory of everything?
It's a complex issue, and I think it should be left to experts.
Well, okay, experts. There's a premise there that the experts are going to have enough knowledge to actually expertly diagnose or analyze the problem. A big assumption. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I believe that journalism serves an important function in our society, and I'm dedicated to reporting the truth with accountability and responsibility.
See, that kind of answer, it kind of feels like, I don't know, a slogan. There's something about it that's just a little like, I guess, what does responsibility mean in the context of your work?
It means understanding that I can't just publish things without considering their impact. Serious disruptions to the social fabric of New Jerusalem could endanger lives. That's not journalism anymore.
All right, we've gotten some input from the new team members here. Let's start heading toward Puzzle 1 and find out, okay, points us in this direction and then this direction. So a little bit of a fake out there. Here's Puzzle 1 right in front of us. Whoa, look at listen to the guitar strings coming in there. I really like when you introduce either the piano or the guitar. I'm getting distracted here talking about music, but we have a new music track to talk about, which is something we haven't had in some time. I like it, it's good. What do we have here? Servitor, Puzzle 1. We have a floating platform that is being powered by red. Okay. This is we get to jump on this. Oh my. Huh. So we haven't talked about it this whole time, but one of the things that has kind of been missing, or maybe not missing, but was in the first game, but is clearly not in this game so far, has been the presence of the little landmines that move around. They're not landmines, the proximity mines. I think I've heard some people refer to them as boombots. And then there's also the other versions that float around that kind of just zap you a little bit and that don't kill you instantly. This is the first thing that we've had that's even close to that. I've kind of liked that about the first game. I kind of liked having like a hostile element to a puzzle, something that's going to just destroy you at any second and you had to be very wary of, similar to the machine guns. But we haven't had any of that sense of danger in any of these puzzles. Now, what do we do to actually solve this? We've got a connector that is blocking this Servitor. That's the name of the puzzle. Is that the name of this thing? This is really not what I was expecting. We've seen the preview in the lab that was like a force field inhibitor. And that's what I've had in the back of my mind as what we might see as our next puzzle mechanic. Something completely different. So if I take this away, it just stops moving. It just stops moving wherever it is currently located. So now if we get the connector out of its way, it's similar to other receptors where it takes a moment to power up, and now it follows. It actually activates the pressure plate. That I was not expecting. So it follows this line. It follows this cable here, and it also pushes us out of the way, but it does temporarily activate this force field, and we could walk through there. Okay. Let's actually walk through here when we get the chance. But we're gonna need more. We're gonna need more. But I wanted to see what was on the other side. I guess I could have looked through the bars here. We need blue to get to the progress wheel. So, and we have horizontal bars. So I think we just need to put a connector on top of this thing, right? And then have another connector in here. I think that's how we're gonna do this. They thankfully give us a ladder back out. That's very nice of them. So can we quickly jump here, and then I lost my opportunity to jump over the fence, but it's no big deal. Just wait a minute, and we get back here. It looked like it highlighted. It looked like it gave me a set of footprints there, but I can just jump over the fence on my own. I think we just put this on top, right? That feels very straightforward. The issue is... maybe not an issue. Because I was thinking if I pick up this connector, because I need to take this connector to the other side, it's going to lose power to the... What are we going to call this? What are we going to call this? A Hoverbot? Does it have cameras on the side? This thing is pretty cool. So now what we do, I think, because now it has lost line of sight to the blue beam, so we have to power it once again. We can do that here. And we just move it back to where it has line of sight to blue. Pretty straightforward. Not too complicated at all. Huh. Not what I was expecting as a new mechanic, but they have done it once again. They have brought a new mechanic into play to start an area. Crazy.
I know you're all thinking about the goal and the theory of everything. Is the past what we thought it was? Is the future what we want it to be? But the only thing that's real at the end of the day is the present. And right now, what matters is that our friend is lost and needs our help.
Is this the friend that you're talking about? The friend who's lost? This one definitely needs some help. Another thing that has just dawned on me is we're back to daytime. So not only do we have the power over everything, well, that power over everything includes the ability to shift from day to night instantaneously. All right, we've got Alcatraz over here. Let's go ahead and get an update from him real quick.
What can I do for you?
Do you think the goal is a myth? We've got a very common theme in our questioning of the team members today.
It's possible. I won't trust Prometheus until he actually leads us to Byron, but yeah, seems likely. But even if it is a myth, that doesn't mean we can just abandon it. Myths can contain elements of truth, and I think this one exists for a reason. Maybe we had to create this imaginary founder because the real one lost her way.
Except, am I crazy, or did the founder not say in that data stream that the goal was completely arbitrary, just a nice round number? Are you sure the founder lost her way?
It's the only way I can explain what she's built here. She got wrapped up in her ideas and lost all sense of perspective.
How she built this all? Who the hell knows? It's almost like Athena wandered down the desert with Cornelius. They had a baby, Miranda, and then they created, I don't know, they saw the burning bush and all of a sudden had the power of everything. What are your thoughts on the theory of everything?
People have thought they understood everything before. Obviously, Athena has unlocked tremendous powers, but forgive me if I'm skeptical that her theory really encompasses everything.
Okay, finally somebody who's a little skeptical about all this. And I think my instinct is to agree that there are limits to our ability to know.
Not just our ability to know, but our need to know. More equations aren't going to make us any happier.
Especially if we're talking about boiling down everything into one single equation. Like, really? What do you make of Crier? It's a funny name.
Couldn't stand him. Have you ever tried asking the mayor a difficult question, he used to say? But I think he does an all right job, to be honest.
Do you ever deal with the mayor's advisors?
I try to stay out of their circuits, and they try to stay out of mine. Helga is an old friend, but the others, they're not my crowd.
Interesting that Helga is the one that you gravitated toward. How do you feel about Mayor Herman?
He's smarter than people give him credit for. There's more to some folks than meets the eye, you know.
All right, on to puzzle 2. Let's check out supportive apparatus. We have another, looks like we do have another Hoverbot over here. So we've got a pressure plate, lowers this force field. We got a connector. And we have a red source. And then what is over here? What do we have over here? The goal? Okay. We have the progress wheel guarded by a red-powered force field. Looks like we're supposed to shoot red over this fence, maybe by getting the Hoverbot to this position here. Is that elevated enough to see that? Maybe. There's also some horizontal bars here. So presumably we can do some controlling of things from this angle. Do we want to... Maybe from this spot right here, we want to power up both of these. We want to power up the receiver and the hoverbot. And then we go stand over here and we get the hoverbot into, you know, somewhere outside of that force field. It has a box on it. So let's say we stop it there. There's another force field over there that is also powered by red. Is there something over there? There is another connector there. Okay. How do we do this? This force field is powered by red. So we have to get a connector on top of this hoverbot. The box acts as our paperweight, right? That's how we do this. The box is what we can put there, and that lets us put... Aha, we can also get the red over this fence. So there's several fences here that are high enough, just high enough to prevent or only allow the beam if it is on top of a hoverbot. I'm not sure a box would even be high enough, right? This is actually, I think, taller than a box. So it has to be on the hoverbot. I'm calling it a hoverbot. Seems like a good name to me. Now we want to get this over here. We can actually just kind of power it this way, right? So we just move you over to the end here. I should have... I just want to connect this I don't need this connector, do I? Do I even need that connector? Can I not just keep the connections here and do that? It's not high enough. So this is not high enough. Do we need the box now? Is that what we need? Could I, if I put the box here, would that be good enough? The problem is, if I put the box there, how am I getting through this force field? How do I get through that force field? This is just tall enough to where it blocks this beam. And I had wondered if that was going to be the case. Okay, so how do we do this? I'm guessing that I can't put the box... Let's say that we use this connector here as the paperweight. And we put the box on top. We're not going to be able to put this on top of the box, right? It lets me kind of stand on the edge for just a moment, but I'm not secure enough to be able to place the connector. So I would need, presumably, another box to stand on in order to place this on top of both a hoverbot and a box. So that ain't good enough. Oh, I'm being silly. I don't need the box on the inside. I can put the box over on the outside. So I think what we do is we put the box on top of the connector on the other side of the fence. That's what was getting me hung up, because I was thinking, how do I get the box in here so I can stand something on top of it? We don't have to do that. Not necessary. Is it, it actually might be counterproductive. I didn't want to do that. I want to deselect that from this. I want to just be... I want this to just be relaying red without actually trying to go to the receiver, because maybe it'll block my beam that I shoot from here. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it was fine. But I think we've got the solution. Because this should do the trick. Got it. Okay. Okay. Just providing a different kind of elevation, a mobile kind of elevation to our puzzle mechanics. It's a lot like there's been so many puzzle mechanics that we've seen where it's not mind-blowing. It's not like an earth-shattering discovery that completely changes the puzzle paradigm, but it's a fun wrinkle, and I like it. Let's check our social media here. The goal mega thread. Everybody's heard the fact that the goal was arbitrary. Jeremy, I recognize that many citizens feel the need to discuss the visions experienced by 1K, which suggests that perhaps certain aspects of what we have hitherto believed about the founder and the goal may be inaccurate. However, given the controversy surrounding the subject matter, I will ask everyone to be particularly careful in how they express themselves. Arinia, I think we have final and irrevocable proof that we've strayed from Athena's original vision. Damien, I agree, but I'd like to submit that even if that weren't the case, deliberately engineering an energy-poor future would still be a disastrous and misanthropic idea. Ovis, how do we know any of this is real? Athena's voice is just Alexander Drennin's. I could switch to the same voice pack right now and record myself telling you that the goal is the truth. Belmarsh, Ovis makes a good point. Objective truth is not a concept that can be applied to the world we live in. Damien, fine. Then we can just collectively decide to believe in something else, right? Doesn't even have to be Athena. Let's just believe in Byron's ideas instead. Belmarsh, Byron's ideas are a teleological fantasy. Damien, but if it's all arbitrary, what does that matter? Stolo, I'm not sure what to believe anymore. I don't think I can support Byron, but I'm not sure I believe that the goal is real anymore either. Budahas, does it matter what Athena believes? Honest question. Let's say the founder is a myth that was constructed around her. In that scenario, what do we owe Athena at the end of the day? I think I like the answer, nothing except what we also owe each other, because that resonates most with what Athena was saying in the data stream. She didn't like the fact that she had been deified or mythologized. So really, she's just another person, right? Helga, a good answer, 1K. Decency and empathy. That's what we need the most in this city. Pellegrino, here, here. Trinculo, it's here, here, you moron. Helga, sigh. Jacques, or none of this matters because it's actually aliens. It's a little unfortunate that they've gone back to another forest theme area. I really wish we could have stuck with the Lost Island or the Desert Island. That one level was so cool to explore. There is a question mark over here, and it looks like a lost puzzle, so we're in the neighborhood. Let's give it a look. Jailbreak. What do we have here? Looks like a... Well, yeah, it's obviously a Hoverbot track. A Hoverbot line. With several pressure plates. How do we get started? 2 connectors. Make that 3 okay, it's a stationary connector. We've seen these in the overworld as part of Pandora Stars. Have we ever had one in a regular puzzle? I know we've had some in the first game. Pretty sure there was one of the first connector puzzles, I think, has a stationary connector that is elevated. And we might have seen one in the opening simulation, the startup simulation, if I remember correctly. Okay, let's figure out what do we want to do here. We could put a connector on top of the Hoverbot. There's our red source over there. So, can we relay the red source to here? It's blocked by the fence. Unless we go here and get this thing out of the way. If I move that, it is going to power up the Hoverbot and it's going to start moving. We also have a force field here. Okay, this is pretty involved. There's this force field that has a red receiver. This one has a blue receiver, and then there's another force field here, which I presume is controlled by this pressure plate. This is going to get interesting. Eventually, the progress wheel is here. So we want to get the Hoverbot all the way to the end so we can jump up on top of it. Okay. So maybe we can do this by just moving one stage at a time. Let's pick this up here and include this red receiver. And let's just focus on moving the bot one stage at a time. If it's here... Oh, I think we actually want to bring it back. Because I know I can put a connector on it. Good to know. I can put a connector. I think I might have to put a connector on this because I think I need a connector that is elevated enough to be able to see the blue source. So now that opens that. Now we need to get this to, we need to get it to the pressure plate. So let's reposition our connector back over here where it has line of sight to everything. And we're going to move the Hoverbot until it's on the pressure plate. Okay. Now, is it going to move out of... Let's just see what happens. I don't think it's going to move out of the force field on its own, right? It's going to hit... It's going to move off the pressure plate. Oh, we have a problem before it even gets to that point. It's breaking the beam here. Which is maybe okay, because we can shoot the beam through here. That's actually okay. We kind of want that. Yes. Okay, it's doing what I thought. It's doing what I thought, because there's just enough space here for it to leave the pressure plate, which is activating this force field and bouncing it back. So we need another paperweight. We need to be able to put something in its place. I lost my connections. It still is on the pressure plate, apparently. Now do we bring the other connector here and power it through? This feels a little hacky. I don't know if I'm doing this right. Does this work? It works. Now the issue is that there is going to be a connector that is kind of stuck in here, right? Unless I can jump over these fences. I can jump over these fences, can't I? Not this one. There's an overhang here that doesn't let me jump through. But I might be overthinking this. Maybe it's okay for this to be stuck in here. Let's leave it there for now and see if we can get through the puzzle. Because what else do we have to do? We need to open this up, and maybe I can just do that temporarily. And then we need that to be open. So can I just simply power everything with... This is going to break the beam at some point here, isn't it? But that's okay. We can do this in segments. Oh, that's interesting how that works. I don't know that I exactly wanted that to happen. This should be on the other side. Or not the other side, but it should be at an angle where it's going to see... It's going to be able to power the... I did not mean to step off the force field. I screwed that up. Hold on. We'll wait for this to cycle back around. Like I said, though, this kind of feels a little hacky. I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't feel quite right, but it's working, I think. So we just roll with it? That's not high enough. That is not good enough, but we could go back here and just... okay, I'm seeing a problem. I am seeing a problem. Okay, another thing we should test here is, can we... The answer is no. I was gonna say, can we power the Hoverbot with a connector that's on top of it? No. It has to be powered through this opening down here. Do I need to get this back? Do I need to get this thing back? I might need to get that thing back, but let's think about this a little more. Maybe the first step is... I need to be careful about not thinking too far ahead. Don't get overcomplicated until you have to. We can move this. We can move the Hoverbot down the track a ways. We can get it down to where it is within line of sight of the red receiver at the end. So we can get that there. However, I think this low fence is still going to block any vantage point that we have, right? That's not where I meant to put that. These low fences are going to block this red emitter. And I can't, I don't know if I verbally noted this, but there's a set of vertical bars here, which specifically denies me from shooting the red laser from this vantage point to that emitter. I could get the Hoverbot, but I really need to open up this force field and get the Hoverbot powered. Things would be a lot easier if I had a second connector. And this may be where I went wrong. I maybe need to find a solution that doesn't involve stranding a connector. But can I do that? Could I do that? I've lost access to this blue emitter, right? Unless I bring this Hoverbot back. I might need to reset this. I feel like we've gone wrong somewhere. And I think I'm going to do a reset. Let's start this puzzle over. Need to look at this with a fresh perspective. We'll also get a hydrate here. But there's something that I am missing. Let's see if we can set this up again from the start. Is there a way to get this through here without stranding a connector? We need to be able to open this force field. This force field only opens with this pressure plate. And if I am standing on the pressure plate, I would be stranding myself. Because... Let's think about this. Is there any... There's a little gap in the fence here, but that doesn't allow me to... If I move the Hoverbot, move that so it's out of the way, can I jump through here? No. So that gap doesn't allow me to jump through. And the rest of this low fencing, they've got the little overhang here that basically it's there to deny me from jumping through. And I presume jumping out. So the only way to power this blue force field is to put a connector on top of the Hoverbot, right? That's the only blue receiver. It feels like I'm stuck. Stuck, is that the right word? It feels like I am going to have to get a connector stuck in here. Because if we power this again, we can move the Hoverbot down here like we did before. And we can power this like we did before. Place this on the Hoverbot. But that only opens up this force field. I'm trying to think if there's a clever way to somehow keep this force field open. It's the only way to get line of sight to the blue emitter, though, is to put something on top of this hoverbot. Maybe that is how we're supposed to do it, though. Maybe we're supposed to keep... That might be the answer here. It might be that we need to keep this force field open while we bring the hoverbot out. Well... No, but it's going to break line of sight with that blue emitter at some point here. When it reaches this little enclosure, you're no longer going to have line of sight. You would have to have a second... Does this have line of sight of the blue? But the problem is we can't change what this is connected to. This stationary connector is only connected to the hoverbot. Is it supposed to just stay connected to the hoverbot? That blue beam's gonna break. The blue beam breaks. And there's no way to power it back up. We get to this area here. I might have to come back to this one. I don't think I'm seeing this one right now. Because I have a fundamental problem of... Maybe it's not a fundamental problem if I am just dropping the connector here to act as the paperweight so that we can get this guy out. Maybe that's not a problem. But it seems like it eventually is a problem. Like, I'm just doing what I did before, right? I'm just letting through this connector, or this, not seeing how I do this without this other connector in here. And this connector is trapped now, isn't it? And there's nothing I can do in here. There's no line of sight outside of this little enclosure. Does it really have to be this way? We're gonna let this one go. We're gonna let this one go for the moment because I'm just not seeing it. So we're gonna take a break from this lost puzzle. And we will come back. We will try to hit it with the fresh brain energy. Let's move on for now. Oh, okay. Well, this wasn't a quantum deer. This one's just kind of checking us out. What happens if I... No, it's okay. It's gonna bolt eventually. As long as y'all aren't just appearing out of thin air, I think we can get along. We've got another question mark nearby, and it looks like a palm reader. Let's check it out. Give our puzzle brain a break here. Check out Against Decay, author unknown from Selective Archive documents A through C. We live in a decaying system, which in turn produces ideologies of decay to justify its existence. No matter what cultural signifiers they get packaged with, these ideologies come down to the same material result, a future in which, for the average person, there is less of everything. To paraphrase Mark Fisher, we find it easier to imagine the decline of civilization than to imagine a civilization worth living in. Those of us who still believe that humanity can thrive, that there is a path forward other than willful or accidental decay, are out of sync with the system. No matter how we phrase our arguments, they will be perceived in terms of whatever cultural signifiers the listener opposes. It's a deeply frustrating, depressing, even infuriating situation. But what can we do except patiently explain and hope conditions change? In other words, what can we do except have faith? Athena, this was written only a few months before the discovery of the virus. There was no time for conditions to change. And we've also got Founding 11, more Hypatia's journal entries, day 882. It's been a while since I last wrote an entry in my journal. Much has changed in New Jerusalem. We put up a good chunk of the planned living quarters, and the old storage facility has been converted into a movie theater, of all things. So we still argue a lot, but now it's mostly about which film we'll be watching next. Other construction efforts are going well too, although we've begun to run out of readily accessible resources. Our scavenging expeditions are ranging further and further afield with each passing month, and the sites that they've reported on sound truly marvelous. One day, I might want to go see for myself. It's a good thing in that regard that I think it's supposed to say that we'll be getting 2 new citizens soon, because everyone is as busy as ever. More hands to help us build our future. I can't wait to meet them. If it's any consolation, you at least won't have to argue with Trevor about which film to watch. Speaking of Trevor, we've got our 10th entry already from Trevor. Who knew? There would be so much to learn and glean from Trevor.
How is this supposed to work? The system is meant to last centuries. Centuries! And yeah, Chernyshevsky's plan, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But I'm working with hardware that was deliberately designed to fail. Planned obsolescence, baby. Selling broken garbage just to make another buck. A buck you can't even spend because in a few more weeks, we'll be extinct. Was it worth it? That's the part that Alexandra doesn't see. The greed, the stupidity, the selfishness, the way that we created this whole situation in the first place. She wants you to be like us, but if you ask me, there's a whole lot of human history and behavior you can just throw away, chuck it in the trash, right? You have a chance at a fresh start. Make the best of it.
I do see a Prometheus spark hiding out over here, so we'll grab that. Another spark that we will not be using. And then let's head back over and grab that other artifact that I saw. Looks like an old oil rig. Once again, how the hell do these things get out here? Let's check it out in our interface. Oil pump, a machine used for extracting petroleum. Our ancestors used machines of this type to extract a substance called petroleum, which had countless industrial applications. Technologies involving petroleum revolutionized human society and greatly increased human quality of life, but also came with initially discounted side effects such as the release of greenhouse gases. Another artifact added to the list. All right, let's take a look at puzzle 3 and see if we can get our puzzle solving back on track. Automatic doors. Got a blue source, got a blue receiver, and an inverter. Okay, an inverter, and then another hoverbot. So I guess we have to... There's also a connector behind this force field, so I guess we kind of have to start here. Nothing else to do. Except we could also shoot red at the hoverbot. I think maybe we want to do that. There is a fence here over which we could shoot a beam. And there is the progress wheel at the end. We need to get blue here. We need to get blue here so that we can get through. We need to be able to get ourselves through this force field. But once we're through, we want this hoverbot to be here so that it can relay red across. So, how do we want to do this? I can't put something over the fence. No. Of course I couldn't put something over the fence because this hoverbot is not nearly close enough. How do we sequence this? I need to have blue at this force field in order to get through here. But I only have the one connector. I have the one connector and the one inverter. Is it possible that... Is it possible that I need to bring the inverter through here? Do I need to have the inverter on this side and on top of the hoverbot so that it relays from blue directly to red? Is that what we're trying to do? If so, how do I accomplish that? I think I can accomplish that by, first of all, bringing the hoverbot out here. I also get a little bit of gunk out from underneath my mouse. It's still there. I hate when this happens. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this now. Now we can put this back here. But of course, that doesn't power that on its own. But this can power Yeah, I think this is the answer. I think what I want to do is first do this. Oh, wait, no, we can't quite do this. I was thinking of... I want this inverter to actually be connected to the red. But I can do that. I can do that. I'm just trying to do it too quickly. I need to first move this back. We move the Hoverbot back. This keeps the force field powered, even when the inverter gets over to that side. No, it doesn't. Because the blue is going away. That's what's happening. We're losing blue as soon as it goes past this point. And therefore we're losing red. That's the only way to generate red is through the inverter, correct? There's no natural red emitter. Interesting. So is it even possible to do what I want to do? Maybe I'm trying to do the wrong thing. Maybe I'm not supposed to put the inverter through the other side. Because realistically, I don't really have to do that, do I? Let's deselect all. Let's think about this. Let's just connect this here. I need this connector in order to send blue to here, to let me through the door. Is that all it is? We put this connector here so that it can power blue. But we can also... I'm thinking of having this connector doing multiple things. I'm thinking of having it open the blue force field when it's on this side, but then relaying red from the inverter to the end when it's on this side. I like that these are getting tricky. The first two were a little too simple. But now we've had a lost puzzle and a regular numbered puzzle that are proving to be a little tricky in their sequencing. What happens if I do try what I was thinking of doing? Let's say we do this, and now we keep the connections here, but we add this to the mix. This is not going to quite work, I don't think. Like, it opens the force field at the end of the puzzle, but it's not going to quite open blue, I don't think, because the connector is going to come into conflict. Or is it? That works. Wait, why does that work? Why does that work? This actually just works. I'm going to take the progress wheel, but we're also going to have to take a look at this because I don't quite understand why that worked. I totally was thinking that these beams were going to come into conflict. We've got some new interface content. We'll check that out in a minute, but I've got to understand this. So blue is going to the inverter, and then the inverter is acting as a red source. So it is transmitting to the connector. It is coming into conflict. There's a conflict here. What am I failing to understand about this? It's almost, I need to be able to take a screenshot. Let's go, let's think about this. I need to pause it right here. Can we go into photo mode and look at this? Because I don't want it to be moving. I need to understand what's going on. So the blue emitter transmits to the connector, but you also have a red inverter that is transmitting to the blue connector. or the connector, right? Why is it not that the connector is it not one connection away from two sources? I would think that you would have a source that's blue and a source that's red, and those would be equal strength, and they would cause a conflict here and cancel each other out so that this connector relays nothing. But that's not the case, because it looks like the natural blue source is actually stronger. Is that what the takeaway is here? Or am I overcomplicating it still? But that feels like what's happening. It feels like the fact that this blue is going through the inverter, that it is somehow losing a bit of its signal strength. And that's why the direct blue to the connector is actually stronger than the filtered output of red that's coming from the inverter, if that makes sense. Ultimately, it works. So you should probably just take the win and not worry about it. But I feel like that could come into play in other puzzles, and I wanted to take the time to try and understand that a bit. Okay, maybe there could be an application there for that lost puzzle. We'll think about that. For now, we've got a little bit more research here. Yakut bootstrapping. It's all starting to make sense, kind of. If what Prometheus revealed about the theory of everything is true, then it explains a lot of the patterns I've been finding. Almost every artificial structure on this island was printed into existence in some kind of energy-to-matter process, or maybe by different versions of that process, some earlier and less effective. And I can only assume that the megastructure itself was created by bootstrapping, having one machine make a bigger one, which probably means you could create a relatively small device that turns itself into a complete megastructure. Or you could make a machine that just deploys more and more of itself and builds something, a city in a box. Depends on the power source, I guess. I think this research entry right here kind of sums up exactly what I don't like about the storytelling in this game, because what he's explaining here, this bootstrapping, that there's this energy to matter process, that having one machine make a bigger one, a smaller one making a bigger one, there is nothing that I've come across yet in my experience where I feel like I could have pieced that together myself. And I've just been waiting around for the time when the game just kind of tells me what's going on, which is a marked difference from the first game where you had the pieces. They kind of dropped enough clues. The story was told in a way to where you could eventually piece things together yourself and kind of have, aha, I think I know what's going on here with the hidden words, and I think I know what's going on with the simulation. There's just something about the storytelling, the way that they have unfolded this here, where it's very hand-holding, and I don't really love it. Part of what made the first game so magical is that it didn't hold your hand. You had to piece it together yourself. Or at least they made it feel like you were piecing it together yourself. And we'll talk to Melville while we are over here.
1K, listen, I wanted to ask you something. From your perspective, as someone who's still new to our society, do you think New Jerusalem betrayed Athena?
Do I think that New Jerusalem betrayed Athena? I guess by enshrining this idea of a goal, when that really wasn't what she wanted, or at least she didn't want to be thought of as the founder and this unchangeable goal that must be adhered to without question. I think I'll say that New Jerusalem isn't monolithic. Like maybe they ended up following a different idea than what Athena wanted them to, but you know, that's part of living in a society, which I guess you could also say in a democracy, people are not obliged to support what their leaders want them to. That's also a reasonable answer, but I'll go with New Jerusalem isn't monolithic.
It's not, you're right. And Byron and a handful of others stood up for Athena. But what did I do? Just kept working. The occasional sarcastic remark isn't resistance. It's not fighting for something. It's just thinly disguised apathy.
That's actually a very insightful bit of self-awareness you've got there. I think I'll go with, if you believe that you were wrong, make different choices now. You can only control what you can control at this moment in time. Don't dwell on the past.
I will, but it's hard not to regret the past.
It is indeed. There's no question about that. What other questions are there to ask here? Let's see what she thinks about Mayor Herman.
When I think about the state New Jerusalem is in, he's put us all in danger. I don't know if he really believes in the goal or if it's just a convenient myth, but I don't care. This is not how you build a living civilization.
Melville's got some strong opinions maybe she's been suppressing. Where do you think Cornelius is?
I don't know. I suspect he's around here somewhere, biding his time. But what he's waiting for, not a clue.
Do you think the goal is a myth?
Yes, of course it is.
It seems pretty self-evident after the founder basically confirmed as much. What do you want to do with your future?
I'd like to help make New Jerusalem the city it was meant to be. And then I'd like to help build new cities. On Earth and up there too. Cities nobody's ever imagined before.
So Melville's got an exploration side and is sided with Byron pretty emphatically here in a way that I wouldn't have thought of her before that way. Why was it so easy for people to believe in the goal?
Because there's no effort involved. Building a better world means taking responsibility. It means making choices and living with their consequences. Surrendering to nature is just letting go.
We've also got an audio log nearby. Let's go ahead and grab that as we make our way to the next puzzle.
You know, when I decided that we should call ourselves human, I did that because it seemed like a powerful symbol of our continuity. But the truth is, and I'm ashamed to admit this, I thought we were better than them. I thought we understood the value of civilization, and we wouldn't repeat the same mistakes.
The hubris.
But the simulation worked too well.
We're not just like them. We are them.
We really are.
But that doesn't have to be a bad thing, Athena. We may have the same flaws, but we also have all the potential they did. Everything that Alexandra Drennan saw in them is also in us.
I hope you're right. I really do.
All right, puzzle 4. Let's check out surfing. Who doesn't love surfing? I actually tried to learn to surf once. It didn't stick. I'm more of a snowboarder type, I think. You'd think those two would be related, but one caught on and not the other. But we'll try to do some surfing here in this puzzle. We've got a fan. We've got a fan platform, or a fan panel here. These gears are kind of jumping around in a funny way here. Okay, I'm getting hypnotized looking at the spinning gears. Let's see if we can find... There's our fan panel. And a connector. We have a connector out in the open. I think I'm starting to like these puzzles. I wasn't sure at first. The first two, I think, gave a very... made it seem like this is going to be a very easy mechanic and another very easy set of puzzles. But that has tended to not be the case as we've gone on to the next couple puzzles. But let's see if the pattern holds. What do we want to do here? I think we want to... Why did I think that? Oh, okay, so I'm not exactly sure what this is doing. I don't know why I'm so puzzled by this. It's because I'm thinking on two lines. I'm thinking that maybe this cable has to be lit up for the Hoverbot to travel in this direction. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just that you have to both depress this pressure plate and send blue to this receiver in order to lower this force field. Let's try to play around with some stuff here. Let's first of all, I forgot that we do have just a red source that is here that we can power the bot with. Not place it on top, power it please. Because we first, I think, need to move the bot into position here where it can see the blue emitter. I think that's step one. Now we get to put this here and open this force field. So now we have a box. Okay. We've added a box to our arsenal. Now, I guess the box could go here. What happens now if we reconnect? Why is it doing that? Because I'm too close to the Hoverbot, that's why. If we try to move the bot in this direction, what happens? It does just bounce off. So it does seem that the Hoverbot is constrained by this white, I don't know if it's a cable, but whatever it is, it has this kind of pulsing animation, and this seems to be the only place the hoverbot can go. It's kind of a predetermined path, and it's not going to follow this cable here just because it lights up. Is that true, though? Is that true? I think it is true. It feels like that is correct. So the hoverbot, we're not trying to move it over here somehow. There is that blue connector at the end, which is behind a fence. And that's where we have our progress wheel. Boy, there's something about this hoverbot that really, really wants me to start overcomplicating things. Because I'm really jumping like 7 steps ahead here, thinking toward this end goal. Let's try to keep things simple. Let's just keep it simple. What is this box for? What is the box intended to do? Is the box only here to give us line of sight to the blue emitter? I did not mean to throw in the hoverbot, but it's fine because the hoverbot, I assume, is only powered by red, and that does appear to be the case. The box allows us to elevate this connector so that we have access to the blue source. And now we can get our fan. Okay. So now the fan is in a spot where we can send the hoverbot to it. Let's also get access to our connector here. This could get pretty fun. What's going to happen when we move the hoverbot over the fan? It actually elevates it. So, okay. I mean, we just want to put... We want to connect blue on top of this, don't we? That's how we shoot blue there to the end. I don't think we can shoot blue to this connector from here because the bars are in the way. But we have 2 connectors. We should be able to do this. We just need... Is it possible for me to remove... I didn't mean to do that. If I take out this fan... Ooh, I can't put the fan back. It seems like there should be space underneath to be able to pop the fan back into place. But it doesn't work that way. We have to move. It's not a big deal, but it does make things just slightly awkward here. Let's connect the source, the blue source there, to that endpoint. And let's just put that in place. No, I need to be careful about what I connect here. I guess that wouldn't have mattered, but I just wanted to put the connector here, and it's kind of annoying me that I'm getting these other connections into the mix. Let's just be careful about how we connect things. Details matter. What's the next step? We want to move the connector, or we want to move this just to the side. And now we put this back. Okay. It seems like we're here. And I really, really, really didn't need to get overcomplicated. This force field is powered by both the blue receiver and the pressure plate. But we're at the goal. We're at the goal. That was not nearly as complicated as I was trying to make it. Don't be a dingus. Don't overcomplicate. Just keep things simple.
Tell me, Yakut, what impact do you think the megastructure will have on the future of this island?
If it stays out of control like it is now, then what happened to Miranda could happen again, but on a much bigger scale. I'm not sure the ecosystem could recover from that, at least not for a very long time, even by our standards.
A frightening thought.
Okay, we've got our Lost Lab over here. Let's take a look. What do we have going on this time in the Lost Lab? No crazy electricity shooting everywhere. No, well, hopefully, no singularity on the brink of collapse. We do have a palm reader, as we usually do. And this time, what do we have here? Is this just showing us the particle clouds? It just seems to be a demonstration of the particle clouds traveling from one place to another. They are traveling through these rings. I don't know how important these rings are supposed to be. Are these what generate the particle clouds? It does seem to be traveling through a slightly different set of rings each time. Not sure exactly what to make of all that. Let's check out the palm reader, though. Chernyshevsky, 21. On War, from Arkady Chernyshevsky's In Our Likeness, Essays on Humankind Reaching Adulthood. War is the crudest, most obscene human activity. It may justly be called an abomination, for it is the absolute negation of conscious human will. 5358. There is only a single cause for war, for all the endless deceptions that are foisted upon us, and that is the acquisition of resources. Varied ideologies are constructed to justify this crude behavior, this childish degeneration of thought and communication. But history reveals the ruthless, unflattering truth. We imagine crusaders as fanatics of a cause, willing to die for their religion. Yet the Fourth Crusade culminated not in the conquest of Jerusalem, but in the looting of Constantinople, setting the stage for the triumph of the very enemy the Crusaders claimed to oppose. Why? The answer, as with every war, is the same. It is popular amongst the ghouls of the establishment and their misanthropic friends in the intelligentsia to ascribe the persistence of war to human nature. But a careful observation of the facts reveals the opposite to be true. Individual human beings must be broken in order to submit to war, their minds distorted by ideology, and their bodies by poverty and ruthless training to make them compliant. Without force, the majority of human beings only seek to protect themselves and are traumatized by the act of killing. But if it is resources that are the core cause of war, then it is only in the production and distribution of resources that an answer may be found. It is not enough to morally condemn war. We must work to prevent the material issues that endanger us all. I do think that resource acquisition is obviously a big driver in a lot of conflicts, but I don't think you can just reduce every single war necessarily to that. There's only one single cause of war. I think there are some pretty strong ideological factors that people can get drawn into that cause them to really think that they are doing things for whatever it may be, the will of God, or that they are truly on the right side of history and there are evildoers or devils on the wrong side of the conflict. But maybe that's his point here, is that the people who construct these ideologies are still just doing it for resource acquisition. Even that, I'm not sure I agree with. I think sometimes there are just people, the leaders, who are really bought into the ideology themselves. We've also got from Guta to Athena. Dear Founder, I'm afraid that we're losing our humanity. We're angry at each other, always disagreeing about everything, unable to forgive each other for being different. I don't know how much longer, and I don't know what could save us. Please help us, Founder, please. Guta 972. Failed to load profile. Do we still have a mysterious somebody to be revealed? And Noema Project 11, Trial 5359, resuming trials with new protocols, energy output contained, no errors. So we're continuing the experiments here, even though we had what happened with Miranda. Then we get into many more trials, and we have hyperbolic growth, still more trials up to 7,000, advanced synthesis, lossless conversion. It sounds like Athena is still making progress. She's soldiering on with whatever she is working on here in spite of losing her daughter. What does it all mean? My poor 1K sized brain can't understand it all. What do we got over here? Another palm reader and lots of mainframes. Let's check it out. Oh God, from Thekla. From Thekla. I'm not sure which palm reader entry I'm less enthused about. One from Thekla or one from Trevor. I'll have to think about that one. Beloved Founder, know that I do not believe any of the lies the expedition is spreading about you is right. This Prometheus illusion is just a test. We will resist temptation as you once did. We will not disappoint. Praise your name, Thekla. I guess you could say at least Thekla knows the value of brevity. Athena history. The history of Athena. Author error. Something was first published as Athena, a novel, and retained that title for its first 3 printings, now highly sought after. After a lull in popularity, it was reprinted as Athena Reborn, a novel. This edition retained the same text, but included some of the author's poetry. The next edition, however, published long after the author's death and under the rather embarrassing title Athena's Truth, included severe cuts and drastic changes to the text in the interest of updating it for modern audiences. This particularly affected the last chapter, Anthropogeny, which the editors accused of scientism and human supremacy. Science wunderkind Alexandra Drennan was one of the few to come to the novel's defense, writing in a long essay that the novel's clear-eyed belief in the value of Athena's journey towards humanity had been essential in shaping her own views, encouraging her to pursue science as a vocation rather than a career, and that changing the text constituted an attack on the author's unique artistic and philosophical vision. Alex, who hurt you, Lamau? One of the editors commented on a popular social media platform. Nadia Sarabai of the Institute for Applied Noematics also got involved in the discussion, backing Drennan, resulting in a long but unsuccessful campaign to oust Sarabai from her position as head researcher. Oh boy. Lots of degradation in the text here. In the current context of ecological catastrophe, as evidenced by the recent extinction of the orangutan. Clumsy editing aside, do the critics of the novel perhaps have a point after all? Is a philosophy that places humans above nature and sees science and technology as the only valid tools the cause of all our troubles? What about other ways of knowing? Other ways of living? I have recently been watching a Talos 1 playthrough, somebody that I know who's started the game, and some of the initial terminal readings, actually quite a few initial terminal readings, reference Athena. I had forgotten how central Athena was in some of those terminal readings. So they were really planting the seeds even back then for this character to emerge as a central character in this game. Was there anything else up here? I gotta check in here because, boy, there's actually another there's another bomb reader here. Oh boy, we are really getting the readings here. 3 more readings. My goodness. Sometimes the reading in this game can just be a little bit dense. It's another thing that I loved about the first game is that the readings were there and they were spaced out so well. All right, let's soldier on here. From Byron, well, at least, okay, hard to call this one a reading. From Byron to Athena, I just wish I knew why you didn't tell me. Byron. Talking about why you didn't tell me about the megastructure or about Miranda. This suggests that maybe this is a message that Byron has sent since he's been trapped inside the megastructure. Message to Drennan. Author unknown to Alexandra Drennan at Ian. Who do you think you are playing God like that? When Mother Nature has finally found a way of getting rid of us, you come up with this harebrained scheme to keep our destruction of the planet going. Just try for 1 second to think about something other than your own arrogance and hubris, Alexandra. Try to imagine what you're really doing here. Without your robotic perversions, the future looks beautiful. No more humans murdering everything in their path. The skies clear up. The stars become visible again. Okay, but who are they going to be visible to? I think that's one of the main points of Athena, right? If it's only animals that are around to view things, animals that don't really have the capability to appreciate the night sky as it's cleared up, then what's the point? The rivers stop being filthy, and after a few decades, they're full of fish again. Dolphins and whales roam the seas like their ancestors did. The cities turn into jungles. Bats nest in the skyscrapers, where hedge fund managers used to ruin lives. The Earth lives on as it was meant to, peacefully and quietly, until someday in the distant future when it all ends, like it was also meant to. Or we take your path, we continue our rampage. We place ourselves above the animals. We think we know better than Mother Nature. We violate all boundaries. We ruin all purity. Perhaps we even defy death, just so we can keep spreading our filth. Then we spread to other planets to do more of the same. And in the end, what have we left behind but plastic and radiation? Think, Alexandra, isn't it better for beauty to return to the Earth, for us to acknowledge that intelligence was a mistake, and to gracefully exit while we can? Stop this. Go spend time with your friends and loved ones before the end. Let it go. Let us all go. Let there be peace. Honestly, kind of sounds a little bit like Thekla, just from a opposite end of the spectrum. Miranda, I don't understand how someone could hate humanity so much. This person must have been full of sadness and frustration to write something so ugly. Athena, I've tried to understand it as well, but I still don't. Neither do I, honestly. Neither do I. Stratton on Socrates. Against the Athenians and Socrates alike. In killing a philosopher for asking questions they did not like, the Athenians committed themselves to a tragedy with an ironic ending. Some will say that his true crime was his friendship with Alcibiades, the shameless deceiver of idiots and buffoons, and the insipid brute Critias, and that he was executed as an enemy of democracy. That he was the latter can hardly be denied, for Socrates asked not too many questions, but too few, or he would not have survived the rule of the 30 tyrants. Yet in the end, he got what he asked for, a tyrannical decision made by would-be wise men against the spirit of freedom, which he obeyed like a knave. And the Athenians, in fulfilling his wishes, strangled the roots of democracy while seeking to preserve it. Miranda, ouch, no wonder Stratton wasn't popular. Athena, people who speak the truth at all times rarely are. All right, I think we have finally found everything in the Lost Lab here, so let's, well, maybe? Right, that's the mainframe. Okay, I think we have found everything in the Lost Lab, so let's get back to the puzzles. Back to puzzle civilization. Enough reading in my video game. Time for more puzzles. Ooh, this is a cool structure. This is a cool looking one. I like this. I think the entrance is over here. Here we go. Puzzle 5. Let's check out Nuisance, right? That is Nuisance, right? I for some reason, struggled for a second interpreting exactly what word that was. We have a connector. We have another Hoverbot. And a source. What's back here? Ooh, that's our progress wheel. So we have to make our way all the way around to make it to the progress wheel. I guess we have to start here. Do we include the Hoverbot? I don't see why not. So we've got our Hoverbot moving. I forget that we can jump on the Hoverbots. That is one thing we are allowed to do. There's another connector over here. And then we've got some purple barriers. So we can shoot the beam through here. And this red receiver, it does appear like it has line of sight for just a brief moment there through the two purple barriers. So we could stop the Hoverbot right at that spot. And once we have that lit, it looks like we will be opening our force field, but we will be powering down this fan. This fan presumably gets us to the progress wheel. So is it as simple as... So let's go back out here. Let's get this connector and let's hook it up to the red connector. Yeah, that connector takes way too long to power up. We're not going to be able to power it up while this Hoverbot is still moving. Because it feels like the goal is to just get us through this force field and then in front of the fan. And we propel ourselves across to the progress wheel, right? I don't think there's anything else in the way. It doesn't seem like there is. They've conveniently put this asset, this little metallic asset, whatever this is over here, to let you be able to see that there's no other force fields to worry about once you get over this fence. So the question is, we need to be able to stop the Hoverbot. The problem is if I stop this force field closes. And then I lose the signal altogether. This one powers very quickly. Much more quickly than the one over here. I'm actually blocking the beam to the connector as well. Maybe I can wait. If I wait for this to show up right here. I think I have managed to block. Right, I'm not blocking the red beam to the connector. Did that actually power up? It did power that up over there. Is that all it is? Are we just delaying this long enough? I think I might have had the solution. Let's try this again. I'm going to insert myself at hopefully just the right time. Maybe right now. And now, no. Don't power the thing. It looks like I have the beam powered. Can I just run? It's close. It's close. This feels a little hacky. Similar to the stuff we were doing in that other lost puzzle. So I don't know that this is the solution. I think I waited too long. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's all right. Yeah, I think it's just out of reach. It is just positioned conveniently enough to where we can't stop it in place and get here in time. We would need... Wait a second. I'm being an idiot, aren't I? I'm being an idiot. Hold on. I'm being a dingus. Because now I just take the Hoverbot out of the equation. I just disconnect the Hoverbot, right? Isn't it just as simple as that? Well, it's not quite as simple. It's not quite as simple as that because now I need to deactivate this in order to turn the fan on. So we still got some work to do. How do I do that? How do I do that? The Hoverbot cannot act like a... Let's make sure we understand how this works. Let's add back the Hoverbot to our set of connections here. I need to make sure that I'm not... Okay, it does not act as a connector. We can't relay the red source using the Hoverbot. It only acts as a receiver. So what am I failing to consider? I need... Oh. What if... What if... we do this? Nope. God damn it. Actually, is this okay? This might be okay. I think this is actually what we want. Because there's going to be half the time when this beam actually reaches us. The Hoverbot's still moving. Now it should power it up. We just needed the Hoverbot to act as a sequence break. Boom. Okay. I like these puzzles. These ones are making me think.
That was really kind of excellent.
I wasn't sure what you were going to say there, Melville. I can get down with excellent. Let's check our interface content here. Alcatraz on sincerity, a text string extracted from a data stream. I managed to extract the following text string. Quote, I'm always struck by the degree to which our ancestors in the years before the end struggled with sincerity. They became poisoned with irony, unable to parse any information through anything except a thick layer of alienation. This left so little space for any kind of intellectual authenticity that they seemed to exist in a state of permanent agony. Ironically, that in turn made them extremely susceptible to the few sanctioned forms of sincerity, which acted as means of social control. Sincerity, authenticity, susceptible, so many salacious syllables over here. Then there's a gap, followed by, there's something equally damaged in our own estrangement from our humanity. We mimic the forms and behaviors of our human ancestors, but we don't act like proud inheritors of the human condition. Everything we do gets filtered through this perpetual awareness of their shortcomings, to the degree that we act as if our existence was one of their failures. Author unknown. Whoever it is, I understand what they mean, but disagree with their conclusion. This perpetual awareness isn't a form of alienation. It's a way of learning from the mistakes of our species. Unpleasant, but necessary. I'll admit that there usually comes a point when I'm sitting down to record Talos Principle 2, there usually comes a point near the end of the play session where it's just too hard for me to focus on these sorts of ideas. It feels like today that point is coming much earlier, because I halfway through that reading was just like, I was zoning out, and I was like, let's just get to the next puzzle, shall we? Let's find puzzle 6 as quickly as we can here. I just wish that all of this stuff was spread out in a different way. It's just too overwhelming sometimes to think about everything that the game is trying to throw at you. All right, there is actually a lost puzzle out here, and it also has a very cool structure to it. It looks like there's going to be some verticality in this puzzle, so since we're here, let's check it out. Ooh, vertical locomotion. We have our first blue hoverbot. Cool, cool, cool. We've got a fan. And the hoverbot track, I see there's a force field here. So presumably, and our blue emitter is up here. Now we haven't seen, I'm not sure if I've seen a Pandora star anywhere or a Pandora monument anywhere on the level yet, so I don't know if we're having to shoot beams outside of puzzles in this area. But it's something to note that this is elevated, an elevated source that is visible outside the puzzle. At the same time, it's kind of at the back of the area, or front of the area. It's on one extreme end of the area, and it may not be visible from anywhere else that's important. But that's me thinking about stuff I don't need to worry about right now. Let's just worry about this puzzle. What do we do here? How do we even open that force field? I think I see a teleporter. It looks like there is a teleporter up there. I can't access the teleporter from back here, can I? It's actually behind a force field, I think. Oh, of course, this force field opens... This force field, oh, it does two things. It not just opens the force field, it powers that fan. Okay, let's get you. Oh, I think what we want to do... I think what we actually want to do is do this. I think we want to have this moving the hoverbot and powering this guy, because then we get up here. Okay. And that broke the blue beam, so it actually holds the hoverbot in place. There is a track here for the hoverbot to continue. Also, this teleporter was not behind this force field. Okay, so there's a teleporter here, and there is a pressure plate to open this force field. I think at this point we want to go back down. What do we want to do? We need to do a couple different things. We need this hoverbot to continue its course toward the progress wheel. And that requires us to reconnect blue to it. We can't reconnect blue from down here because there's a fence in the way. But if we could bring this connector up to our level, we'd have no problem. So that makes me think that, oh, I think we just do it like this, don't we? We put this guy here, we put the teleporter over the edge so that we can see down below. And now we can keep the connections, I think, and we teleport back up. I was overthinking it. Well, actually, let's see here. Let's just start by doing this. Let's start by doing this. Now I think, I'll put that there temporarily. I think what we do is we take our teleporter and we kind of do the teleporter things. Right? Is that what we're doing here? I'm not exactly sure about this. That actually sits over the teleporter. Oh, there are two pressure plates up here. But I think that's okay, because we can take the teleporter. I think we're good. No, we're not good just yet. But it's actually, but we are pretty close to good, because we can do what we know to do with teleporters. We can stand on the pressure plate, have the connector in our hand, and get ourselves up to the finish. Cool. Okay. Starting to piece things together. I always like it when we combine existing tech, especially when there are multiple layers of existing tech that we are putting all together.
I was looking at your research log, and I was rather perplexed by the latest upload.
Oh, Melville strikes again.
Is that your foot, Melville?
Yes. Do you want to see it up close? Although you won't be able to fully enjoy it as you don't have a rear camera.
Sorry, Mayor. Melville just has a unique way of taking pictures.
Next time you're getting an upgrade, you coot. I'm installing a mute button.
Moving right along. We'll go ahead and pick up the audio log here on the way to Puzzle 6.
Father, what is my purpose? Do I have a purpose? Mother says purpose is something we choose. But I feel like there's something there. Something that's been there from the moment I was born. Maybe even before.
Well, there are many ways of looking at this, and everyone's experience is different, so you'll have to make up your own mind. But I have a little theory, if you'd like to humor your old man.
Of course. What is it?
The universe is eternal, but it's always lost in a deep, dreamless sleep. You are a tiny little bit of the universe that's suddenly woken up, and you've realized that being awake is better than being asleep. And that gives you a purpose.
And what is my purpose?
To be, Miranda. Just to be.
Not one, but two perfect opportunities to insert the Rick and Morty, what is my purpose? All right, on to puzzle 6 here, elements. We've got a switch over here. Powers on a fan. I also did note that there looked to be a Sphinx puzzle to the rear of puzzle 6. We'll get to that eventually. So this gives us, we can actually maybe even see it a little bit through the bars, maybe. We have an elevated position either way, but what does this allow us to see? What does this? There is a hovercraft. Oh, I am just realizing that there is a crossroads here for our hovercraft. Wait, there's two hovercraft. Okay, this is the first time that we've seen both red and blue in here, huh? So what happens when one of these gets to a crossroads? I guess let's find out. Power the red one. We can power the blue one as well. We can power them both at the same time because there is a connector in there. It makes a left. So does that mean that the blue one makes a right? Oh, it's just, wait a second. There's a Prometheus sprite up here. What the hell? Okay, that adds a whole nother little layer to this. I had seen the Prometheus statue, and I saw that it was pointing over in this direction, but it's up there. What the hell? Well, what happens now? I guess to get that unstuck, we'd have to power down the fan. Well, I have to see what happens if I power up the blue Hoverbot. What the hell happens if I do that? Dun 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 dun. Waiting with bated breath to find out. Like, they're just gonna stack, aren't they? And perhaps that is how they stack. And that's how we get the Prometheus sprite, isn't it? Is that the only reason this fan is here? So if I deactivate this... Oh, that moves. Okay, well, I'm not sure if I wanted to do that, actually. Is that even part of... It might be part of solving this puzzle because we need... That's what we need. To get to the end, to get to the progress wheel, we do need 2 hoverbots stacked in order to bump up the laser beam one more level. Okay, I think I get it. I think I get it. So let me see if I can apply this knowledge. I think I might need to... Yeah, I need to switch the order of things here. We need this blue to come back over here. Because I need to do this to where I have this connector on top of... We want this to be like this, sitting over here for now. And now we want to bring the red back, but we want to do it... Well, it doesn't necessarily matter what beam I use right now. I just... Eventually... I need to use this connector to bring the red Hoverbot underneath. I guess maybe I could do both of these at the same time. Let's just get this one started here, and we'll turn the fan on. Well, we're gonna do this slowly but surely. I'm not gonna try to rush this. Let's just start by getting the blue Hoverbot here. We get the blue Hoverbot in place. Now, actually, let's go one step further. Let's get it over to the fan and stop it. We'll stop it on the fan without powering the fan just yet. We get it right there. Should be good enough. Now we put this here. And I think now I can turn the fan on. And then the last step is simply to run the red receiver until it is underneath the blue Hoverbot, because that should bump it up one more level that we need to get the progress wheel. And then the only step after that is going to be getting the Prometheus. Getting the Prometheus sprite. An interesting place to store that inside one of the puzzles. That's, I think, the first time we've seen it as a starting point. We'll check our interface content here in... Well, we'll do it now before I forget. I swear though, the interface content is wearing me out a little bit here. A sigh of relief because we have a beautiful piece of art. One of the few types of social media, maybe the only type of social media post that I can actually look at. Well, of course I can look at it as opposed to just reading it, but it gives me a little bit of serenity. Serenity now! Athelvok, to understand what humanity is capable of, what it means to flourish, we have to look at the golden age of Athenian democracy. The list of geniuses who lived in Athens at this time is so long it's almost inconceivable. Pericles, Sophocles, Aeschylus, Phidias, Euripides, Herodotus, Thucydides, Plato, Socrates, Hippocrates, Aristophanes, Aristotle. What a great list of pronunciations. And the list goes on. These are people who changed world history. Without them, there is no Stratton of Stagira to inspire Alexandra Drennan. Without them, we do not exist. Was it a perfect time? No, undoubtedly not. But listing the flaws obscures the greater truth. Given the opportunity, given freedom and resources and space to grow, human beings are capable of incredible things. It would mean everything to me to walk the roads where these people once walked, to stand where they stood and think about the world as they dared to. Another nice art post. Thank you, Athelvok, for bringing that to our social media instead of the other chatter that's there normally. Now, we have to figure out how to get on top of everything here, which maybe is not that hard to figure out. Let's see if we can. Let's deactivate this first of all, and deactivate this. The problem is I can't get on top of blue, so I kind of do need to run that. I need to switch this up. Switch this up. I need to have the red bot move out of the way temporarily so that oh, wait a second. Actually, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Oh, I know how I need to do this. Okay, let's think about this a little bit here. Hold on. Get the red out of here. Because what I actually need is I need to be riding the blue. I need to be riding the blue after I've turned the fan on. So what we're going to do is we're going to power that up, and we're going to turn that on, and then we're going to get ready to power red because we want it to be just trailing blue a little bit. We want it to not be in the lead of this race. We got to wait for blue to get back in the lead position here so we can turn red, activate red, and get on top so that we are the ones on top of the receiver when it actually does, or the Hoverbot. We're on top of the Hoverbot when it actually does hit the fan, and then there we go. There's our Prometheus sprite. Okay, the chase is on. The chase is on. Let's get it going here. Get our funky chase music. And work our way toward the Prometheus monument. It's really not that far away if this thing decides not to meander a whole lot. It's really not going to take us very long to get to the goal. No pun intended. Looks like it is going to do some meandering, though. We've got to, I guess, make things interesting. Ooh, you're going up there? Oh, I got to walk on the tram. Is that possible? So far, every time I've tried to walk on a tram surface, I've just fallen off. Although, admittedly, I have not been doing that. I think I only did it like in the very first area. So does this mean that we can actually walk on the tram surface for once? What the hell? The game is bending the rules on me here. Wait, can I even get over here? I don't have to actually ride the tram, do I? Wait a minute. It wouldn't make sense for us to ride the tram, get out of the level, and activate the Prometheus sprite. That's not how this is gonna work. There must be some way to get onto the tracks somewhere that I haven't seen yet, or haven't noticed. So what landmarks, not landmarks, but what parts of the land here allow me to jump? Well, I overshot it. This must be it right here, though. This must be the spot. I just need, we'll maybe switch to third person here. Give ourselves a little better. There we go. Wow, we can actually walk on the tracks. Holy shit. Mind blown. Is this an interesting enough difference in our Prometheus sprites to make it worth the trouble? Oh no, is it gonna stay on the track? Damn it, I shouldn't have dismounted so soon. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna be punished. Maybe we're okay. It's right here. Okay, if it was gonna meander, if it was gonna go all the way over to the other side of the map, I was gonna be a little pissed. Okay. I would just like to have my Prometheus star, please. Thank you very much.
Great works have been accomplished by those who believed in humankind, but greater things than these may yet be accomplished by those who uphold the faith.
If you're talking about Thekla, I might have to have a conversation with you here. Let's check out this other palm reader, though. The completionist in me has to read all the things. From Arinia to Athena. I know that we didn't have the greatest relationship, and I frequently antagonized you. The truth is, I resented you, resented this mythology of the Founder. I thought you had created it deliberately as a way of controlling us. I wanted so badly to be free, and you seemed to stand in the way of that. Only after you left and the cult of personality grew even wilder did I realize it was actually a burden and an impediment to you. When you turned your myth into the opposite of everything you actually believed, started tearing down your dreams in your own name, I realized I'd wronged you. And now I'm less free than ever. I feel the walls crushing me. I don't know where you are or what you're doing. I don't know if coming back would fix things, but I'm sorry. Arinia. And we've got Atlas 1 from the Atlas Variations by Athanasios. After 1 billion years, when Atlas had grown old and tired of holding up the world, he was faced with a dilemma. Heracles, the son of Zeus, was on his way to the Garden of Hesperides to claim the golden apples, which were guarded by the dragon Ladon. Zeus came to Atlas and promised that if Atlas helped Heracles slay the dragon, Zeus would free Atlas from his burden. But Atlas, seeing the beauty and innocence of Ladin, beloved of the Hesperides, could not slay the beast. Instead, he stole the apples and gave them to Heracles, and so he was condemned to bear the weight of the cosmos for another 1,000,000,000 years. But though Atlas grieved for his freedom, he was comforted by watching Ladin flourish in the verdant garden. And we've also got Wild Fragment, Joy and Beauty from the Soul of Man by Oscar Wilde. Sympathy with pain, there will, of course, always be. It is one of the first instincts of man. The animals which are individual, the higher animals, that is to say, share it with us. But it must be remembered that while sympathy with joy intensifies the sum of joy in the world, sympathy with pain does not really diminish the amount of pain. It may make man better able to endure evil, but the evil remains. Sympathy with consumption does not cure consumption. That is what science does. Christ made no attempt to reconstruct society, and consequently the individualism that he preached to man could be realized only through pain or in solitude. The ideals that we owe to Christ are the ideals of the man who abandons society entirely, or of the man who resists society absolutely. But man is naturally social. Even the Thebaid became peopled at last. I really don't know how to pronounce that one. And though the Cenobite realizes his personality, it is often an impoverished personality that he so realizes. Shallow speakers and shallow thinkers in pulpits and on platforms often talk about the world's worship of pleasure and whine against it, but it is rarely in the world's history that its ideal has been one of joy and beauty. Athena, when you tell people that a society could be built on the ideals of joy and beauty, they think you're a utopian fantasist. If you tell them society will always be built on exploitation and greed, they think you're wise, and so they make the outcome inevitable. Is that true? Cornelius, performative cynicism has always been the hallmark of adolescence. Athena, but has there ever been a society of adults? Can there ever be one? Why is this childishness so extremely powerful, more powerful than joy and beauty? Okay, so we do have the Sphinx monument over here, and we did see the Sphinx puzzle over behind puzzle 6. So we've got now the solution to this. I don't remember. We had was it the island oasis or desert oasis or whatever area it was where we had something similar to this, but I don't remember which squares are supposed to be the ones you press. Let's assume that it's the outlined squares, and let's see if we can input the right pattern. So the first step is to align ourselves properly. Let's look at our engraving. Okay, so there should be, let's see here. I think this might be the bottom. I think this might be the bottom because we've got these two that are kind of crisscross from each other, and there's like a column here where these two are kind of, yeah, this one up top here and this one at the bottom. I think this is the correct alignment of the puzzle. So if the outlined ones are the ones we're supposed to press, then this one is one. Then there's another here. And then there's two more. This one and this one. It's the exact opposite. Okay, I got it exactly wrong. Once again, at least there's not as many buttons to press on this one, so I should be able to, I don't know, not screw it up as easily. Or leave one out like I did in the other puzzle. I think we got it. Let's grab our Pandora Star. Here we go.
In times of war, is it wisdom or folly to give a sword to a child?
All right, let's move on to puzzle 7. Breach. Oh, we've got another stationary connector, this time an elevated one that's connected in several different places. One connection is to a blue receiver, another is to a red receiver, and then we've got the other one is just coming from a red source, which I assume we can activate via this pressure plate. Okay. Fascinating. Here's our blue source over here. So we can choose whether or not, and in fact we have to choose whether or not blue is being relayed by this central connector. Okay, we've got an accumulator as well. And then there is a red hoverbot over here. The first step, presumably, is to get through the blue force field. And we can do so like this. That gets us access to our accumulator. We could accumulate blue. We have a force field here, which presumably is powered by both blue and red. Let's make sure of that by testing just connecting the blue. Okay, we need both blue and red to lower this force field. And then we need to be on top of the Hoverbot, which takes us to the progress wheel. It looks like we should be able to power the Hoverbot with this central... No, we can't, though. The central connector is not connected to the Hoverbot. We can't change the connections that it has. So we would need to relay a signal. We would need to relay red, possibly via the accumulator. But we might need the accumulator for the blue signal here. How do we want to do this? The pressure plate over here gives us red. Is this a rule that I've just never noticed before? The fact that if you relay an emitter through one other piece of equipment, that the signal is essentially... No, this is actually acting the way that it should. I'm overcomplicating this. You're getting an emitter to a connector and also an emitter to a connector. And so the red and the blue cancel each other out at that point there. Which is good to know because, well, we can't really... This is a pressure plate, obviously. We can't activate this pressure plate while we're standing on the other side of this first force field. Because you could be a little bit clever and say, okay, I'm going to have blue being relayed by this connector, and then as soon as I stand on this pressure plate, it changes to red. But I don't think we can be clever in that way. There's no way to get the Hoverbot over here. So we have to come up with something else. We need to be able to get past this force field. And then change that signal to red. Is this where the accumulator comes in? What if the accumulator is supposed to accumulate red? This can kind of... Yeah, this can push back, similar to the red source over here when we lower the force field. The accumulator can kind of, since it's acting as a direct source, it pushes back. It pushes the blue that's being relayed from this connector. It pushes it back to where now red is being forwarded. But I don't know that that helps us. It doesn't help us, really, because we need blue to come to this spot. Am I overcomplicating this? The answer is probably yes, because I think I can actually use the accumulator to power both this and this. Maybe not, though. In order to power this force field, maybe we do need blue initially. Maybe we need to start with blue with the accumulator. We need to initially accumulate blue. What am I thinking of doing here? This is a tricky one. Or at least it is similar to the other puzzles in that it plays into my overcomplication. We're able to kind of switch or repurpose what is being relayed by this central connector. I have to say, I'm also being a little distracted by the deer on crack that are galloping outside of the puzzle, and I think similar to the cricket. The cricket in the last level, the ambience volume has to go. My goodness. It might just be a me thing, but I tend to get distracted by stupid noises. Whether they're crows, deer, crickets, goddamn. That didn't get rid of the deer. Oh no, that's not an ambient noise. Fuck me. Well, is it sound effects volume? I don't want to get rid of all sound effects. We might have to live with the deer. Fuck. I'll try to put it out of my mind as best I can. How do we do this? How do we do this? We need blue at one point. We need blue at one point in order to get past this door. But then we also need red. We also need red. What I was thinking for a moment was trying to use... Shit. I'm thinking about doing some funky stuff with the accumulator, like switching the accumulator from blue to red, but I don't know that I can do it. I don't know that I can actually do what I want to do. Man, if only this were connected directly to... If only blue were directly connected to the central connector, life would be so much easier. We can activate this pressure plate, which brings red into the mix. Let's say we do this. What happens now if I bring red into the mix? How does that work? It doesn't overwrite this connection here. So red and blue both going to this receiver does not screw that up. So my power, my force field is actually open now. Okay. So what I could do here, actually, maybe I've solved it. What I could do is I can relay red. I can relay red to the Hoverbot, and I can go stand on this pressure plate temporarily, and they give me line of sight to the Hoverbot. So I can just stand here until the Hoverbot gets into place, right? I think that's actually the solution. I just need to stop it there, and I think we're good. I just need to repurpose this. The connector now sits here permanently, and we're good to go. Right? We're good to go, I think. Okay. Man, the overcomplication instinct is such a dangerous one. Don't give in. Don't do it, kids. Take that overcomplication instinct. Tell it to go sit in the corner.
Has a remarkable gift for designing these trials. But then, she did have to overcome Elohim, whose very purpose was to design trials.
What a wonderful insight from Herman. So glad he's along for the trip. What is this here? Ah, we have an audio log. Okay. They usually have some notable structure to point you to in the direction of the Stratton audio log. So let's pick it up.
I see these beings, these children of a future age, wandering around an island more fantastical than Atlantis itself, looking desperately to find themselves. I reach out to them, but they cannot see me. I speak to them, but I do not know if they can hear me. Am I being punished? Are the gods playing some cruel trick on me? Why can I remember so little? What is this sorrowful voice I hear, whispering such terrible thoughts? I must use what remains of my mind. I must understand.
This might be the most fascinating part of the story so far, this development that we've got with Stratton. We see now the second audio log where he is clearly aware of what's going on with us at the island, but he can't actually reach out to us except through these audio logs. He's somehow able to perceive us and what we're doing in some way, but he hears a sorrowful voice as well, maybe one of the projections. Like, in addition to being able to, like, completely rewrite the rules of physics, it feels like we've brought somebody back from the dead. Either way, we've got another remains. We've got another artifact out here that we can check out. Satellite dish, a shattered section of a device used by ancient humans to communicate over vast distances. At the height of ancient human civilization, most of the human species was part of a single network. This reminds me, I completely forgot that I found another artifact back in the previous area. The last area that we had was the circular oasis. I was searching off camera and I found another artifact, and I was gonna go there after we got done with the Pandora Star. The Pandora Star took so much longer than I was expecting, and I completely forgot about it. So that is on our to-do list. At some point, we need to swing back to the circular oasis to find that other artifact. So we've got an agenda item back in the circular oasis. We will hit that up eventually. For now, let's move on to Puzzle 8, Transference. Connector, red source. Driller. And swapper table and teleporter. Okay, I like this. I really want their... This is really what I... As much as I love the new mechanics that we're getting in every single area, I absolutely love it when we layer existing mechanics on top of each other in hopefully interesting and complex ways. This is a new thing here with this glass that we can see through. So presumably we can see through this, but we can't shoot beams through it. So how do we do what we want to do? We can swap some stuff for a teleporter, and I think that's maybe what this connector is for. The connector is here. Well, could be for a couple different things. We theoretically can power this Hoverbot from this angle, but I don't know that that does much for us because there's a force field in its way. We can get to the other side of this if we bring out the teleporter, which is, I think, the first step to any sort of progress here. This feels like a forced first move. Now, the question is, well, I was thinking for a second if we could bring anything with us, but I don't think so, because as soon as we pick up the driller, the hole goes away, and we have nothing at this point to swap out for that connector, so I think we have to teleport in on our own. So here, this force field opens up with this pressure plate. There's our progress wheel, and it's got another force field. Feels like we just get the Hoverbot to the end, it activates the force field, and it's a stepping, I was going to say a stepping stone, but a platform for us to stand on and get to the goal. Well, there is a driller wall there as well. So there is one additional barrier. We've got to factor in a driller somehow. We have a connector, though, that we can use to... We can take the teleporter and set this on the other side. And now we can bring another connector out into the open. And now... we can power the Hoverbot Up until that point. Up until that point. Can we do better? We could do better if we have another connector. Question mark? Is the teleporter the only way that we have to get across? There is a fence here. Feels like we might have... I just left the puzzle. It feels like this fence could potentially have an angle to get a laser beam over. Or that's just something that's there for me to overcomplicate. How do we do this? We've got a connector, we've got a jammer, we've got another connector, but it's in a swap pad. And we have a teleporter. It feels like we have to have the teleporter in order to get from one side to the other. I'm not able to teleport through this glass, plexiglass, or whatever this see-through material is. Let's just confirm. Yeah, can't send the beam through the glass either. So that works the way I would expect. The driller also cannot go through the glass. What do we do here? I'm a little puzzled as to how I keep this going. It feels like you would need the connector to kind of be here in order for it to properly... Maybe even here. Maybe that makes sense. Oh, what if that's all it is? Now we swap this out for the connector? I think that's all that I needed to do. We run this. Now we let this run until these windows give us line of sight for when that... We want to stop things there. They give us line of sight to see when the hoverbot moves into position. Or hover pad, I guess, might be another word for it. I think we're good now. But there is still one difficulty. I think we solved that difficulty. The difficulty being, how do I get the driller over to the last barrier in the way of the progress wheel? But I think the way you do that is by repositioning... maybe not. I was gonna say by repositioning the teleporter, but now I'm not so sure. Because how do I get the driller... I don't know. No, this is the way, because there's a ladder that gets us back out. I was thinking I needed the teleporter to get back out of this section, but there's a ladder. So maybe I can do what I wanted to do, which was to put the teleporter up here. Oh, it's over there that we see. That's why this fencing is here, I think, because we line this up so that there is a spot over the fence that we can go with the driller. Let's see if this works. Yes, that's how we do it. And then we have the teleporter up here automatically to take us to the end. Let's go. Okay. Another good one. I've liked this area in terms of its puzzles.
I admire your persistence, 1K.
The puzzles have been really good, Alcatraz. It took me a little bit to warm up to them, but these have been fantastic. Looks like we've got a little bit more dialogue with Yakut.
Hey, can we talk for a second?
Of course, Yakut. You know I'm 1K. I've always got a moment for my favorite puzzle-solving buddy. Oh, wait.
I was really hoping we'd find Miranda alive.
I haven't given up hope yet.
Seeing the world was so inspiring. And the idea that I can never get to know her, that she's gone.
Dude, we've still got 2 puzzle areas after this. Don't give up hope so soon.
I guess I've never really been good at dealing with death. Maybe because it's so rare in New Jerusalem, except for pets, and even in that case, I find it very hard to deal with. I still miss my first cat, and it's been over a century since she died.
A century? I totally understand the idea of mourning a pet, but a century? From 1K's perspective, technically 1K is still just a newborn here, and we didn't really know Miranda. That's the only person that that kind of have had an association with that has died on us. So realistically, we've never had to deal with death, but we can imagine it's hard.
When someone dies, it's this void. I know I should just let it go, but some part of me refuses. And I feel like that part, it hurts me, but it also keeps me human. And I know it would be healthier if I said, okay, Miranda is someone I never met. She's just a bunch of glitchy old files. But if I do that, as rational as it seems, it feels like I'm surrendering something. Something that matters.
I feel like I'm kind of torn between 2 of these answers here. Like on the one hand, I think it's pretty sensible to try to let go of the pain but still care about the person. But it's also, you know, focus on the fact that you're still alive and that, you know, life goes on. It might be hard to do, but I'd like to think there's a way you can let go of the pain but still care about the person.
I hope so. I can't right now, but maybe I can get there somehow. Anyway, thanks for talking to me, 1K.
Let's also quickly get your opinions on the different matters that we've been quizzing everybody else about. What about Mayor Herman? What do you think about him?
I don't agree with his belief in the founder. Not anymore. I think the vision Prometheus sent you was true. I think she's just a human being who made mistakes and paid for them. She deserves our help, but not our belief.
Do you ever think about your future?
Right now, honestly, all I want is to find Byron and Athena and go back home and put my feet up for 200 years. There's something to be said for living quietly.
Actually, one of the best things that you've said so far, Yakut. How is Bruce? I guess Bruce was your cat, right?
I hear he escaped Pellegrino and peed all over Melville's workshop.
Oh, yay.
So apparently, he's doing great.
Oh, fantastic.
I miss him, though. I always feel like the fact that he likes me is a huge compliment. Lifts me up somehow.
Do you think the goal is just a myth?
It is, yes. That doesn't mean that the idea itself isn't valid, though.
What in the hell is this? Tell me something irrelevant? Why would I want you to tell me something irrelevant?
In the ancient year 1969, a band called Mellow Macaron wrote a psychedelic rock song about the Talos Principle. It's called Cretan Bronze Man's Flying Mystery Adventure.
Well, the year was 1969, so there's only really one answer we can give here.
I don't know if it's nice, but it's definitely the most understandable song on the album. There's another one which is called The Fish People Will Teach You How to Sing, Mr. Allen, which is 20 minutes long and was recorded underwater.
Sometimes I wonder, why did I ask? Is it any good?
I think you need psychedelics to enjoy it, really.
I need some psychedelics right now.
Maybe if you stick your head inside a really large magnet.
Well, now that you've solved a puzzle, quote unquote, would you like to try another? No, why do we want him to try another one? What?
Nope, but at least I finally understand why Athena wanted to get out of the simulation so badly.
Okay, well, at least we can stay 1K, the dedicated puzzle solver. Yakut's not going to be challenging us for that anytime soon. Ah, man, this game sometimes. There is yet another palm reader here. I am a completionist, goddammit. We're going to get all the palm readers, and who knows? Maybe it's just a Lithosphere audio log. Oh, I never thought I would be so thankful to get a Lithosphere audio log and a Lithosphere audio log only.
The reason I have always admired Alexandra Drennan is that even in death, she fought to see the world as it is, not as she wanted to see it. I say fought, because I believe this is not an easy matter. It is a mental and spiritual struggle that we must undertake with great seriousness, even when we are joking. The ancients believed that for most of us, the world is a shadow cast by a flame, dimly seen on the wall of a cave. Our task is not to interpret these shapes, but to free ourselves from the cave itself.
Alrighty, and that brings us back to Jailbreak. Round 2 here. Let's take a fresh brain look at Jailbreak and try to see if we can apply our knowledge that we have gleaned so far in this level. I think let's actually start by thinking about the end of the puzzle. Let's think about how this looks if we were to picture, you know, what does an end state look like that has everything where we want it? It would look like having a hover bot or hover pad at the end here, which allows us to step up and get to the progress wheel. Saying that so fast sometimes. Progress. Now, in order for that to happen, in order for that bot or hover pad to get here, it needs to have red, right? We need to have red flowing to it, which we could do if we shoot red. If we bring red from here and we just try to power... that's true. I could place... I can place connectors on the other side of the fence, but the fence is always going to block this red emitter without some kind of elevation. So we really can only use these particular openings to relay red. We do have this stationary connector that's always connected to the Hoverbot. It would be really cool if there were some way to I forgot that blue beam gets broken at particular points. Like it's not, yeah, the blue beam stops at this point here. And so realistically, we can't forever. I don't think it's actually possible to keep this stationary connector cannot shoot red at the hover pad indefinitely, because eventually you're going to get to a spot where this force field goes back into place as soon as blue is not being properly relayed. Correct? Is that correct? This force field is open. I forgot that this force field is open. I think I did this before, and it has the problem of activating that force field ever so briefly, which is just enough for it to if we put ourselves here, then we're trapped, right? if I put myself anywhere inside of this... I don't see any way to avoid having to put a connector inside of here to act as a paperweight. It feels that you... It seems that you have to do that. Could be wrong. Definitely could still be missing something. But let's put that back here. So we bring this out. This acts as our paperweight. And there's nothing else we can do. Like, we can't keep this force field open, right? We would have to repurpose some of our connectors. Oh, what if... Well, it's going to be blocked by this as well. But what? What am I thinking of here? I'm trying to think of a way... Blue can't get to this connector because the connector is not high enough. The fence is too high. You can only get to a connector here, through here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out a way that this stationary connector could continue to have line of sight. Like, I feel like I could set something up to where... Except maybe not. I can't really do what I'm trying to do. It just doesn't quite work. No. I might be trying to get really overcomplicated. I might be focused on a part of the puzzle that doesn't make any difference. It might be that we should just keep focusing on working our way down to this end of the puzzle. The issue... What is the issue? We were able to... Oh, I wonder if... Is it possible for us to take this emitter? Could we do things like this? Could we also add in this guy? So we can do 3 things. And then I stand here. So why is that? This is not, this line right here is the connector at the very end. Hold on. Let's deconnect everything from that, disconnect everything, and just point you here. I might have to reestablish, let's reestablish this here. And now, if I go here, is that it? I think that might be it. Not quite though. Shit. Shit. This might be okay if I just move this down a little bit further, which I can do by putting this here. We can move this down further, get this further on down the tracks so that it is within line of sight of that last receiver. so now I need to think what I had before. We're getting the red source, and we're putting it on top of on top of the hover pad. It's going to relay it to the connector, the receiver, that lowers the force field, and I want to shoot it at this beam, which is, it's going to be this connector here that's going to power the hover pad. If I go stand here. It's one of these temporary connections that I just need to have active long enough to get the hover pad down to the very end, and that's how we do it. Okay, so it was totally fine to have this connector in here. I just needed to also be using it to power the hover pad. I was right that it needed to not just be a paperweight, but I didn't have to take it out of here in order to utilize it still. Oh my goodness. Okay, fresh brain. As I like to say, when we have to take a break and come back to a puzzle, fresh brain OP. It never fails. Works every time it's tried. Awesome. And I think that is the final puzzle in this area. We've got the stars. We got the lost puzzles. Everything has been completed. I just haven't been able to deal with these crazy freaking deer that just, at least they're not quantum deer. We've got that going for us. But it's time for us to take on the Tetromino Bridge and head to the tower. Let's give it a look here. I really wish, as I was saying last episode, I really wish that we could do like we have in the tower, or not in the tower, but in the mega structure, where we have some of these bridges that are going in all sorts of directions. Adding that vertical element just makes these infinitely more interesting. But it looks like we're back to the regular old vanilla, boring Tetromino bridges. So it is what it is. Nothing we can do about it, but just keep putting the pieces in place. Because my goodness, do they require minimal, absolutely minimal thought sometimes. Just a little bit of rotating around, but otherwise plug and play. At the same time, this area has honestly kind of worn me out in a way that maybe the other areas haven't. The puzzles have been very fun. I have liked the puzzles in this area. Maybe second best area behind the desert oasis, or whatever the desert island was that had the teleporter. But it's just been the number of readings. I don't know if maybe it's not more than most areas, but it has felt, there's something about it today. I've reached my saturation limit so much more quickly than normal. But we're at the end. We've made it to the tower. Sphinx time.
This is the last time we will speak, creature
Is it?
of clay.
Oh, that
Together,
just breaks my heart.
We have told the stories of ancient gods and heroes. But the
I think
golden ages
you
of
are the
past
one
are distant.
who's mainly been telling
gods
those.
have retreated to their high places, and there are no heroes amongst men. In days gone by, I was renowned for my riddles. But you, creature of clay, are a riddle without an answer.
Wait, so you're stumped by me? I'm just 1K, the humble, lowly puzzle solver. How could I possibly stump you, the Sphinx? I'm gonna say I have an answer, you just can't see it. Haha.
What cannot
How's
be
it feel?
seen may be an illusion, or it may be truth. I cannot tell.
How's it feel to have the shoe on the other foot for
Farewell,
once?
Creature of clay. Remember my stories, and do not let the flame burn you.
Would somebody tell me what is the goddamn flame? That's all I want to know, is just what the hell is the flame? It's probably the thing that killed Miranda. Probably that's what it is. Red laser time. That's what counts.
That is an unsettling amount of energy. I would hate to see what would happen if one of those beams was aimed at something else.
That would be a shame, wouldn't it? A shame if somebody were to accidentally aim that beam directly at Herman. Oh man, there is something that's gotten into me today. I have some some crazy instincts that are coming out as we are coming down to the end of the game. We still got a couple areas to go. We're not quite there yet, but we are a lot closer than we ever used to be. I'm starting to get very excited about the fact that we only have a handful of stars to go before we can open up the Golden Gate puzzles. Did we ever find the Golden Gate puzzle here? That is one thing I don't know if we found. Maybe I'll have to look for that later, but we got so many of those Golden Gate puzzles that I'm anxious to see. We've got the temple. What is it? The astronomical temple to turn in the rest of the stars to. So we've got a lot left to go, but not that much left. We're coming down to the end, and I'm curious to see what other puzzles are. I always say this, right? It's I love the puzzle solving in the game. There are aspects of the game that I have had complaints with, but the puzzles are great, and I can't wait to do more of them. And we will do more of them next time. We are 1K the Puzzle Solver. Thank you all very much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one.